networking is everything.
Okay.
It's everything. We don't door knock. We're 100% referral based, be it either from our referral partners or past customers.
All right, welcome to another episode of Connections That Matter. Today, my guest is Paul Foote from Roof Source. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Paul, I knew your wife before I knew you, and through wanting to get connected to the neighborhood. So she was somebody that I saw at like the little neighborhood networking fairs and stuff. But when I've talked to you, she's always been the big networker.
Yes.
So give her a shout out first, and then we'll get into to you.
Yeah, so Melissa Foote, Step by Step. Sorry, she changed her name. Step by Step Photo Organization. It was Step by Step Tech, but Step by Step Photo Organization. She does amazing photo organization work, but she also does emergency preparedness classes, and buy all her stuff online.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, and then I met your son at one of our events. He was over at the Mercantile taking care of us over there. But is everyone in your family an entrepreneur?
I would say yes, they are all going to be entrepreneurs. My oldest is already, he's the president of the real estate club at Arizona State. And he'll be a junior this coming year, just finished his sophomore year. And is already working towards, he's going to get a finance major, but he doesn't want to do anything in finance. He wants to run a company one day and understand the finances. So he kind of, when he talks to a CFO, he wants to know what he's talking about. So that's kind of at 20 years old, that's his thinking already. So
wow.
And then my youngest is going to be an entrepreneur, but he works at Georgia Boys. So.
There you go. Shout out Georgia Boys.
Yeah.
Well, and you're newer to Roof Source, but I know you made a career change and was looking at a lot of different models, but really landed on that as something that aligned with you. So tell me about Roof Source and what was your journey that led you to them? Yeah.
So Roof Source, they've had previous names before, but as Roof Source since 2017, our owners have been in the business for, 11 years or something like that. Actually started with one of your other fellow podcasters that's also in the roofing industry.
Yeah.
And then went out on his own and started Roof Source. A great company to kind of just, not just, help people and get to do what we do with something that no one ever wants to work with, which is roofing. No one wants to deal with their roof. No one wants to deal with leaks. No one wants to deal with insurance. So kind of put together something that, was helpful for people, but also put it in perspective of, still doing like fellowship and like family. Like we had a team meeting this morning and we talked, maybe 50% was about business and what's going on in processes, but the other 50% was what's going on with you in your life and what are you working on and stuff like that. So everyone was like, you look kind of dressed up today. And I'm like, I got a podcast later. So
well, appreciate the dressing up, but I will take you exactly how you are. One thing I admire about you, Paul, is when I follow you on social media, you have a heart of a teacher. You're always educating with your posts. You're always giving value. You're always lifting others up. And I'm sure that is a conscious decision of how you're choosing to market. But what is your strategy with that? Like, do you have specific things you do on specific days, or how do you come up with what you're doing?
Yeah. So LinkedIn, for example, I do have a formula that just through taking some classes from people who are LinkedIn experts and working on that, I kind of post very similar things every day of the week. So Monday's a topic, Tuesday's a topic. Wednesday, I try to do educational topics where I actually put out an article every Wednesday. Thursday is kind of why we're relevant, why us, why Roof Source. And then Friday, I always do a book review. And sometimes I do a sci-fi book and tie it back to business, or I do a business book. So kind of stick to that model. And then everywhere else, I want to educate. I don't want to be white noise. I want to be more top of mind when a roof comes up, because roofing's just different, right? I'm not selling apparel. So I'm not selling clothing that people are out there looking for and constantly looking for. So roof is something that people need when they need it, right? There's a leak, there's a hailstorm, something, then they're looking for a roofer. So I kind of take the approach of how do I be top of mind when someone needs something?
So a book a week, though, that's quite a pace. Do you read a book a week, or is it from the, just stuff that you've accumulated over the years?
30 years of sales.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of books.
What's some of your favorites?
One, it's kind of funny. It's kind of outdated, but it's called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And it literally has to do with managing things and the monkey's on your back, taking on things instead of delegating it. So kind of not taking on everything and delegating things out, and kind of getting rid of those monkeys, toss them off your back is a good one. There's so many that now I'm trying to think through all of them. Richard Branson books are always amazing.
Sure.
Screw It, Just Do It was a great book from Richard Branson, which talks really about him of like, just do it. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? It fails, and then you try something else. So lots of good ones out there, but those are kind of a couple good ones. I compared Ready Player One to business and roofing a couple months ago. So,
well, if I remember right, that's like somebody goes into the video game, and so how did you tie it into roofing? What was that like?
I think I just tied it more into business. How you need to be present, and living in a virtual world isn't going to put you in front of your customers and be present for them and aware. You can't live in social and in virtual world. You got to show up and be present for people. So that's kind of how I tied it back to a business sense.
Okay. Well, one thing I see you do that I think is super smart is a lot of people will try to get as big as audience as possible. And not that you're not trying to do that, but you're also targeting the micro audience. So like Barefoot Lakes, where you and I both live, has this business owners Facebook page, a community business, and you take time to actually specifically post in there, not just share to that group, where the audience is just the size of one neighborhood, but you have really stand out as the local expert. So how long have you been doing that? Has that been paying off for you?
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I do is I do post in lots of different groups, like on Facebook, for example. There's also another one, the Tri-Town Facebook group, which is up north. And whatever I posted there, I'm not posting the same thing on my personal page or on LinkedIn or other places. I try to be specific to the target audiences. So Barefoot, I do try to just, I'd love to be the neighborhood roofer. I know there's some other roofers that live in our neighborhood, but I just try to take advantage of having a captive audience, not spamming them, trying to put relevant things out there. Sometimes I try to make it fun. Like I think a few weeks ago it was National Pretzel Day or something, and I said somehow tied, go get a pretzel and let me come inspect your roof, or kind of making it fun and changing things up, but really just targeting an audience of homeowners, of course, but then real estate agents and property managers and other people that are out there that also just again top of mind. One of your previous guest, Alex, from AGT Landscaping, being aware of, even tying those things back of, hey, putting that out there when people ask for recommendations. So using it that way as well as a networking tool to other people out there. I've even recommended, now I'm thinking off the top of my head, I'm thinking through it, but interior design.
Yeah, Alicia. Yeah.
So
cool.
I was trying to put it out there to that. I mean, our neighborhood is growing. It's, 3,000 homes now, soon to be 5. So just trying to be relevant.
That's cool. Well, and we've talked, you're like, I'm not the person roofing your house. I sell the roofs, but you have really good partnerships. You pride yourself on providing additional venting and a couple of things that set you apart. what, I mean, some people just try to like get the biggest thing in an insurance claim. And Paul, you've always done what's right for the client. Is that a Roof Source thing? Is that a Paul Foote thing, or what? Is that a both?
I think it's both, but I think, the one thing that sets Roof Source apart is that we do pay attention to the ventilation, and that's not just us; other people do too. But there is some importance to it. There can be a cost increase to paying attention to the roof being properly ventilated, but ultimately, what it comes down to is the warranty of the shingle. If the roof's not properly ventilated and the shingle has a problem, and there's a 25-year warranty on the shingle, and the manufacturer comes in and they looks at it and they go, "Oh, this roof isn't properly ventilated," the warranty is null and voided. So that can fall back on us as the roofers. So it's our responsibility to do that for the customers. But it's also the right thing to do, because no one wants the upstairs of their house to be, 20 degrees hotter than the rest of the house. So a properly ventilated roof breathes, and it's important. And also builders, they just throw vents up there. They don't do calculations. They don't try to figure out how many vents need to be there. I would say most of the time we need 4 to 6 more vents on every roof that I've ever done.
Is that something you could put in like retroactively, or do you need like a whole different roofing system?
You could put it in retroactively if you did the similar kind of vents. We would probably try to go to a new style vent, which is like a ridge vent, where there's more surface area is actually being vented, versus the small turtle vents, which if you look up on your roof, it looks like a mushroom just popping up off the roof. And the ridge vent just looks cleaner. It takes all those off, but it also gets to the peak of the roof where the heat's leaving. So, but I would say ultimately, back to that original question, what set us apart. I mean, yes, Roof Source important with that, but I think what sets us apart really is our project managers, me and the other people on our team. We're very kind of niche in who we are and who we hire. And it's, we hire maybe a couple of people here or there when needed, but the process is vetted of, is this the right fit for Roof Source? Roof Source, I would say our whole team, we're faith-based. We pray before team meetings. It's awesome. There's times where we have meetings and it's a testimonial because one of our guys is struggling or something. So we take that amount of care that we put in just in our team, where we're kind of all family, and that's how we take care of our customers. It's probably the biggest thing that pointed out to me, moving into roofing and sales, was I get to help people, which is the greatest joy of the whole process. So,
well, I was on my roof the other day, Paul, and not that I wanted to go up there, but there was a wasp nest like way up there, and I'm going in like with some spray, and I didn't have a tall enough ladder, but and then I looked at all my neighbors' house, and they all have wasps up there too. So how do you deal with the insect, or do you build relationships with a pest control company before you come out?
I mean, our guys, if they're doing a roof and they deal with the wasps, I mean, they have wasp killer in there. I mean, it's something that it's just part of the hazard of the job, I guess, right? Like it's, I don't encourage you going up on your roof, of course. Maybe people ask for a free inspection, and, oh, by the way, while you're up there, will you kill that wasp nest?
Yeah.
I've had that asked, and done it, but you're supposed to do those at night too when they're all in there, so.
Yeah.
Can kill the queen.
Yeah, right. Well, roofing, especially in Colorado, with the amount of hail we get, it's a competitive business. There's a lot of roofing companies. There's a lot of people, trying to get the word out of there. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And as someone who builds networking groups, I want somebody who is a person of great integrity, person who has a great product, stands behind a great product, but also is a great communicator. And one thing about roofing is a lot of them are seeking out these networking groups, but some of them are different levels of engagement. And you've come in, you're one of the highest engaged person in the Longmont group. And I think you're leading in the scoreboard of the amount of referrals given and the one-to-ones that you've done. How has networking been a part of your strategy as a roofing project manager?
So, I mean, I guess to put it in there, networking is everything.
Okay.
It's everything. I know not a lot of other roofers don't door knock either, but we don't. We don't door knock. We're 100% referral based, be it either from our referral partners or past customers. I think our last time we checked is like 90% of our entire business is referral.
From referrals.
The rest, that other 10% is Googled roofer
Sure.
and found us and called in. But yeah, it's just a big number. And even it actually door knocking makes me a little nauseous. Like, after a hailstorm, I go to a customer's house that called us to come look at their roof a day after a storm, and standing on a roof and seeing 12 other roofing companies in the neighborhood just knocking on doors or pulling up to their house. And when I walk up to the front door, there's 12 business cards sticking out of the door. It just is kind of,
yeah,
it's not a good look for our business. So I any other roofers listening to this, please knock it off. But it's as far as the networking thing, again, one-to-one meetings. I've met with so many people in our group that you wouldn't even think about our roofing connections, but you talk a lot about this as being a connector.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I see being a connector, right? I know a lot of people, we went through the checklist that we did, and it was, I think you watched me for 20 minutes just checking boxes of, I know so many people in so many industries. Even meeting with Cliff from Humane Society. Like,
sure.
He's already referred a couple real estate agents to me. So
cool.
Just having those connections and resources, again, top of mind, right? When someone like needs a roofer, I want them to talk to someone else and be like, oh, I know a guy. Here's Paul's info, because, networking is everything in every aspect of sales, period. So.
Yeah, and any business like that, if you're breaking into it and it's a big referral base, a lot of people just don't know where to start. Like, if I don't, the top producers in my office already have all of these connections and they're getting all these appointments, and here I'm trying to make new connections. But this show is called Connections That Matter. So we're helping people make connections. But what are the valuable connections that need somebody that is like you, Paul? And I'll just say on your behalf, like, you show up as a teammate. You show up as somebody who is going to be in your corner, not just to represent a great roofing company, but go above and beyond to collaborate and work with people's business. You talk about real estate agents, but what other kind of professions are you looking to connect with?
Definitely property managers, people in HOA boards are great connections. Insurance agents, of course. I know that's probably the top two are insurance and real estate, and every roofer probably going to give you that same answer. But property managers are some that are just, I work with a property manager up in Estes Park and working on a huge condo project right now. And even from that, I did a house last week that they didn't know was their house. They realized it was a house they were managing, and it had wood shake shingles. Well, wood shake shingles in Estes Park are banned because they're basically kindling, sitting on a roof, right? So, we quickly turned around and had a roof on in a week for them to get compliant, because the city was like, hey, this roof isn't going to fly. So those are things like that where the property manager is just working with them. And then same thing with the real estate agents. Just I made a post a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it, but it was, it's definitely, it's hail season's here. Hasn't happened yet, but selling season's here and it's in full effect. And I've been on almost every day. I'm on a roof for one of my referral partners that's a real estate agent. So
yeah, we're real estate people, but it's like Super Bowl Sunday and then till the kids go back to school, and it kind of tapers off. Not that it doesn't slow down during the summer, but yeah, people are making deals happen, and So for someone like me as a homeowner has a lot of rental properties, I always like, please don't hail, please don't hail. Do you cheer for the hail, or do you? You do?
Cheer. We pray for it every night at meal.
Please.
We pray for our meal and we pray for hail. And it can hit my house. I don't care.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't want anyone to go through that.
The claims process. Yeah.
But I find joy in sitting down at a kitchen table with a family and going through their insurance claim and explaining, I think the running joke is insurance math isn't real math, but I can at least help them understand it to the best of the knowledge of, hey, this is what you're going to get for your roof. And, the biggest question is, well, what's it going to cost me? And they're already telling us what it's going to cost. Mm-hmm. And that all kind of has changed from even 10 years ago, where you would go get a bunch of bids, where nowadays insurance kind of they tell us, here's what we're willing to pay to have this roof replaced. And then explaining that to the homeowner of, if your deductible is $1,000, that's really your only out-of-pocket cost. I don't have any surprises. I'm not going to, the ventilation we talked about, even if it's not covered, we're going to still do that. We're going to upgrade to a Class 4 shingle, which most people are doing anyways. But those are kind of some of the main things that I find joy in, is doing that in that process. Because, again, I pray for hail. You pray for no hail.
Yeah.
So we probably cancel each other out. But
right.
I don't pray for it for like it's a joke.
Sure,
right?
sure, of course.
Ultimately, down to it, I want the best for people, and I want their homes to be safe and taken care of. I think ultimately, even like when it's not hail seasons, and Colorado goes through a kind of a 5-year season. It hails 5 years, it doesn't for 5 years. And part of our success is we're successful when it's not hailing. Like right now, I'm extremely busy and it hasn't hailed. The problem I think that a lot of people don't think about is when it does hail and your house is damaged and you don't do anything about it, and you go a couple of years, insurance now chalks that up to wear and tear.
Ooh.
Not hail damage. So, and it's you can tell an old damaged roof versus a freshly damaged roof. And so do the adjusters. So, unfortunately, when it does happen, we do recommend, even, and I got another shout out, I guess, but Morgan from State Farm, she'll tell you the same thing is, you can call her, but she's going to tell you to call me first before you file a claim. Because I'm going to get on your roof and go, you're good. Don't file a claim, because that can cause more problems down the road. So,
somebody who's
integrity.
And somebody who's audited many of insurance policy, and I know limited thing, but there's like replacement value versus actual cash value versus percentage deductibles. Like, it's hard to find a $1,000 deductible. I don't know if you have any hookups that you can give people people can still find those kind of things. But what would you recommend that people have on their house, especially in Colorado, where wind and hail damage is a higher possibility?
Definitely stay away from your ACV only policies, where it's only going to cover the actual cash value. On average, it's probably like 50% or less of the cost. You're going to be paying a lot out of pocket for that. Really pay attention to the policy and ask a lot of questions. Really get to know your insurance agents. If you need referrals, I already threw one out for Morgan. But they will walk you through and tell you what you need. It's not always the best to get the lowest rate.
Sure.
Because that could hurt you in the long run. A lot of just shop the companies too, because Allstate is going to be different than State Farm or American or any of them. So I would really focus on making sure you have the right policy that's going to be the right for your family. So even if your deductible is, a lot of them are going to a percentage, where it's 1% or 2% of your home value. And just making sure that you're covered with the right coverage. Cause it's really hard when, I just helped a guy last year who, basically had an ACV only policy, and to replace his roof was about $15,000 out of pocket. Cause there's ACV only and they take your deductible. So, I've seen people get, not much.
Sure.
$5,000 and it costs $20,000 to replace their roof.
Wow.
So just pay attention to what you got. And if you're not sure what you got, have someone else look at it. That's not your insurance agent. Have another agent maybe help you, or a roofer look at it. So.
Yeah. Well, if somebody maybe is like, oh man, I should get my roof inspected. I was that storm, or who knows, by the time that this airs, there might've been a recent storm, or if you're watching this, because there was just a storm, how do people contact you? How do they get in touch with you to get a quote?
Yeah. So my phone number, 303-827-1139. Email address is paul@coloradoroofsource.com. Or coloradoroofsource.com is the website. We have 4.9 Google rating.
Nice.
Almost 300 Google reviews right now, which I know, like I heard the car guy on the podcast, he has almost 1,000. I don't know if he's there yet, but that's a lot. It's a lot of Google reviews. So, but yeah, that's probably the best way.
Awesome, Paul. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and it's been a pleasure. And hopefully, my anti-hail, at least in Barefoot, they can go around us. But if it does come, I definitely know who to call. So thanks for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Hey all, thanks for watching. I love networking and building relationships with other Northern Colorado business leaders. So if you want to come meet some of these podcast guests, meet me, or meet some other amazing entrepreneurs in Northern Colorado, I would love to have you attend one of our next events. Go in the podcast description. There's a ways that you can see our upcoming schedule, and maybe you could be a future podcast guest as well. Thanks.